Top 10 ways retirees are living on $1,000 per month, and why it's working. For most people, that sentence sounds like a nightmare waiting to happen. $1,000? That's barely a decent rent check in many U.S. cities, let alone groceries, healthcare, and everything else life throws at you. The common belief is that retirement requires hundreds of thousands, even $1 million in savings just to get by. But here's the shocker. A growing number of retirees aren't just making $1,000 a month work, they are proving it can lead to a life with less stress, more freedom, and even more happiness than before. Now, I get it. The math doesn't seem to add up. We live in a world where gas feels like liquid gold, grocery prices make you blink twice, and housing costs could make your blood pressure rise faster than your bread dough. On paper, $1,000 a month in retirement sounds impossible. But what if the problem isn't the number, but the assumptions we've been taught about what retirement should look like? Today, we are diving deep into the reality behind the headline. Real people, real situations, and why this works in ways most of us have never considered. Some are in the US, some are overseas, but all of them share one thing in common. They have found a way to make a modest income stretch without feeling deprived. Welcome to Restful Wealth, where we talk about smart retirement planning, affordable living, and finding joy without overspending. If you are ready to challenge the myths, rethink what's possible, and maybe even get inspired, stick around. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest videos. Number 10. They redefined retirement goals. For decades, we've been sold a glossy, one-size-fits-all vision of retirement. You know the one. Golden sunsets over luxury golf courses, cocktail cruises in the Mediterranean, a sprawling home with a perfectly manicured lawn. And while that image looks great in TV commercials, for many retirees living on $1,000 per month, it's neither realistic nor necessary for a fulfilling life. These retirees have done something powerful. They've rewritten the definition of what retirement means for them. Instead of chasing a fantasy that requires endless spending, they've embraced a version that's deeply personal, financially sustainable, and surprisingly liberating. For some, that means downsizing to a smaller home in a friendly, walkable neighborhood. For others, it's trading expensive vacations for simple pleasures, like morning coffee on the porch, volunteering at a local community center, or taking long walks in the park. They've shifted the focus from what they can buy to how they can live. And here's the truth. This approach comes with honest trade-offs. You might have to let go of certain luxuries, skip some bucket list trips, or make peace with not owning the latest gadgets. But the pros often outweigh the cons. Fewer financial worries, a slower pace, and the freedom to choose how each day unfolds without the pressure of maintaining an expensive lifestyle. Take Ellen, for example. She once thought retirement meant moving to Florida and joining a country club. But when she realized her budget wouldn't stretch that far, she chose a different path. A small town in North Carolina where her expenses are low, her neighbors know her by name, and her days are filled with gardening, book club meetings, and visits from her grandkids. She calls it rich in time, rich in peace. Why this works? These retirees have learned that true happiness isn't about how much money you have or how many places you've been. It's about having control over your days, feeling content with what you have, and enjoying the freedom to live life your way. Number 9. They tap into community support. When you are living on $1,000 a month, every dollar matters, and so does every connection. The retirees who make this work aren't trying to be lone wolves. Instead, they've learned that leaning into their community isn't just smart, it's life-changing. Community support can look different depending on where you live. For some, it's the local church food pantry that hands out fresh produce every Wednesday. For others, it's a senior center that serves hot lunches 3 times a week, like Betty's Center, where she not only enjoys a good meal, but also saves more than $100 a month on groceries. And then there are the neighbors who swap extra garden tomatoes for a loaf of homemade bread. It's part resourcefulness, part small-town magic. There's also a practical side to this. According to the National Institute on Aging, strong social connections can actually improve health outcomes and reduce the risk of cognitive decline. That means community isn't just saving money, it's helping people live longer, healthier lives. Of course, there are trade-offs. Being part of a community means showing up, lending a hand, and sometimes saying yes when you'd rather stay home in your slippers. But the payoff is worth it. Shared resources, emotional support, and a network of people who have your back. Think of it like this. Instead of everyone in the neighborhood owning a lawnmower, maybe just one person does, and the rest borrow it. Or instead of dining out alone, you join a community potluck where everyone brings a dish. The costs shrink, the friendships grow, and the isolation that can come with retirement melts away. Why this works? These retirees know that community isn't just about being social. It's about building a safety net. By tapping into local networks, they cut expenses, stay engaged, and prove that when people come together, life gets richer in more ways than one. Number 8. They ditch or downsize the car. Let's be honest, owning a car these days can feel like having a second mortgage. Between gas prices that seem to climb every time you blink, insurance premiums that mysteriously creep higher every year, and repair bills that somehow always land at the worst possible time, it's no wonder many retirees on $1,000 a month are saying, you know what, I'm done. Instead, they're turning to public transportation, walking, biking, and even ride-sharing as their main ways to get around. Paul, for example, sold his aging sedan, bought a sturdy walking stick and a monthly bus pass, and hasn't looked back. The result? He's now saving over $3,000 a year. Money that stays in his pocket instead of disappearing into the bottomless pit of car expenses. And it's not just about the money. Without a car, there's no worrying about surprise breakdowns on the freeway, no panicked calls to the mechanic, and no more rummaging through the glove box for that one document you can never find when you need it. For many, it's like removing a giant source of stress from daily life. Now, ditching the car completely isn't for everyone. In rural areas or towns with limited bus service, some retirees choose to downsize instead, swapping a gas-guzzling SUV for a fuel-efficient compact, or sharing one vehicle between two households. Even this small change can cut costs dramatically, especially when paired with fewer trips and smarter route planning. According to AAA, the average annual cost of owning a new car in the U.S. is over $12,000, and that's before any unexpected repairs. For retirees on a tight budget, reducing or eliminating that expense can make the difference between scraping by and breathing easier. Why this works? By rethinking transportation, these retirees slash one of the biggest expenses in their budget, and they often find their days feel simpler, less stressful, and more focused on what really matters. Number 7. Healthcare costs are managed wisely. If you are living on $1,000 a month, an unexpected medical bill can feel like a wrecking ball swinging straight at your budget. A single trip to the ER in the US can easily wipe out months of careful planning. That's why retirees making this lifestyle work don't leave healthcare to chance. They treat it like one of the most important line items in their retirement playbook. For many in the US, the backbone of their plan is Medicare, often paired with a supplemental Medigap policy to cover what Medicare doesn't. Others qualify for Medicaid, which can drastically reduce out-of-pocket costs for those with very low incomes. And then there are retirees who've discovered a treasure trove of local resources. Free screenings at community health fairs, income-based sliding scale clinics, or prescription drug discount programs. Then you have the adventurers living abroad, where healthcare can be shockingly affordable without sacrificing quality. Take Maria, a retiree who moved to Mexico. She pays around $40 for a full doctor's visit, complete with unrushed face-to-face time and same-day lab results. Dental cleanings, about $25. Even major procedures can cost a fraction of US prices. The key isn't just finding cheap care, it's staying healthy enough to need it less often. Many retirees on a tight budget invest time in preventive care. Daily walks, home-cooked meals, and regular checkups before a minor issue snowballs into something expensive. As the old saying goes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And in retirement, it might also be worth a few $100 saved each month. Of course, there are trade-offs. In some cases, affordable health care might mean traveling farther for appointments, adjusting to new medical systems, or navigating language barriers abroad. But for those willing to adapt, the rewards are huge. Lower bills, less stress, and more control over their health and finances. Why this works? By combining preventive habits with smart choices about where and how they get care. These retirees protect their health without letting medical costs derail their retirement. They know that in the long run, managing healthcare wisely isn't just about saving money. It's about preserving independence and peace of mind. Number 6. They embrace frugal living without feeling deprived. When some people hear the word frugal, they picture cutting coupons until your fingers cramp or reusing tea bags 3 times just to save a penny. But for retirees living on $1,000 a month, frugality isn't about pinching every cent until it squeals. It's about being intentional. These retirees have mastered what Frank likes to call intentional living, trading mindless spending for mindful choices. They cook at home, not because they can't afford to eat out, but because they genuinely enjoy it. And let's be honest, nothing beats your own spaghetti sauce. They shop secondhand, not out of desperation, but because thrift stores are full of treasures and cost a fraction of retail. And instead of chasing expensive entertainment, they fill their days with simple pleasures like gardening, reading, or long walks. Statistics back up their approach. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, food, housing, and transportation eat up the majority of the average retiree's budget. By trimming these categories with small, consistent habits, they keep their spending in check without feeling like they're missing out. The key is that they've redefined luxury for themselves. For some, it's a quiet morning coffee in the garden. For others, it's a library card that opens up a world of free books, classes, and events. They don't measure joy by how much something costs. They measure it by how much it adds to their quality of life. Why this works? When your days are filled with activities you love, you stop thinking about what you can't afford and start appreciating what you already have. Less spending becomes a choice, not a punishment, and that makes all the difference. We're halfway through our list, and I just want to say a big thank you for sticking with me so far. I hope you're finding these insights both encouraging and practical, because that's the whole goal here at Restful Wealth, to show you that retirement can work, even on a modest budget. If you've enjoyed the video so far, do me a quick favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the rest of this countdown or any of our future videos on smart, affordable retirement living. And don't forget to share this with someone who might need a little inspiration for their own retirement journey. All right, let's keep going, because our next point is a big one. In fact, it's something that can completely transform your retirement budget almost overnight. Number 5, they're debt-free. If you've ever tried filling a bucket with water while it has a hole in the bottom, you already understand what debt can do to your retirement. No matter how carefully you budget, interest charges and loan payments keep draining your money away. For retirees living on $1,000 a month, patching that hole is non-negotiable, and the way to do it is to eliminate debt entirely. For many of these retirees, that means no car loans, no credit card balances, and no lingering mortgages. Nancy, a 72-year-old from Ohio, calls paying off her last credit card before retirement the single biggest relief of my life. Without that monthly payment and the interest that seemed to grow faster than her savings, she says she finally felt like her income was hers again. It's not just about peace of mind. The numbers are staggering. According to the Federal Reserve, the average American household carries over $6,000 in credit card debt, with interest rates often above 20%. For someone on a fixed income, that's like trying to run a marathon with a backpack full of bricks. Removing that weight can free up hundreds of dollars a month. Money that can now go toward essentials, small pleasures, or emergency savings. Getting to debt-free often requires trade-offs. Selling a larger home to eliminate a mortgage, trading a newer car for a reliable used one, or cutting back on non-essentials until the balances disappear. It can be a tough transition, but it's one that pays off in spades. And here's the hidden benefit. Being debt-free doesn't just protect your budget, it changes your mindset. Without creditors waiting in the wings, retirees report feeling more in control, more optimistic, and less stressed. That mental freedom is worth just as much as the financial freedom. Why this works? When you are debt-free, every dollar you have stays in your pocket instead of flowing to the bank. It's not just about saving money, it's about keeping ownership of your retirement. One payment you don't have to make at a time. Number 4. Social Security is the backbone. For retirees living on $1,000 a month, Social Security isn't just a line item in the budget, it's the budget. That monthly check is the financial backbone, the steady drumbeat they can count on in a world where almost everything else feels unpredictable. Many of these retirees treat Social Security the way workers treat a paycheck. It's not extra money, it's the money. James, for example, receives just under $1,000 after his Medicare premiums are deducted. On the day it arrives, he sits down at his kitchen table with a cup of coffee and divides it like a general planning a mission. Rent comes first, then utilities, groceries, and finally a small slice labeled fun, enough for the occasional lunch out or a grandkid's birthday gift. The key to making this work isn't just the amount, it's the predictability. Social Security arrives like clockwork every month, which means retirees can plan with precision. That stability is priceless when you're working with a tight budget. According to the Social Security Administration, for about 40% of retirees, Social Security provides at least half of their total income. For some, it's the whole thing. Of course, living on Social Security alone often requires sacrifices. There's less room for big-ticket purchases, surprise expenses can cause stress, and inflation can feel like an ever-present storm cloud. But these retirees make it work by building routines around their benefits, finding low-cost ways to meet their needs, and keeping a close eye on every dollar. It's not glamorous, but it is sustainable. And there's a certain comfort in knowing that no matter what the stock market does, no matter how interest rates shift, that check will land in the bank account right on schedule. Why this works? Predictable income means predictable planning. Social Security gives these retirees a stable foundation to build their budget around, allowing them to make thoughtful choices, cover their essentials, and still enjoy small, meaningful moments without constant financial worry. Number 3. Housing costs are minimal or zero. For most Americans, housing is the single biggest expense, often gobbling up 30%, 40%, or even 50% of their income. On a $1,000 a month retirement budget, that kind of math simply doesn't work. That's why the retirees who make this lifestyle sustainable have one thing in common. They've tackled housing costs head-on and kept them as low as possible, sometimes even down to zero. How do they do it? Some rent modest spaces in affordable towns, where monthly rent is a fraction of what it would be in major cities. Others share a home with friends, family, or fellow retirees, turning what could be a lonely, expensive experience into a cost-splitting, companionship-building arrangement. Senior living communities are another option, often offering lower rents along with social activities, transportation, and other amenities. Then there are people like Sarah. She sold her big suburban house, the one with the mortgage that seemed to follow her like a shadow, and used the proceeds to buy a small, cozy mobile home outright. No more monthly payments, no more property tax headaches. Just a place that's fully hers and costs little to maintain. The benefits go beyond the financial. Lower housing costs mean more room in the budget for other priorities: healthcare, hobbies, travel, or simply breathing easier, knowing the basics are covered. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development recommends keeping housing costs under 30% of income for a healthy budget, and these retirees take that advice seriously. Sure, downsizing or moving to a more affordable area can mean letting go of certain comforts, fewer rooms, less storage space, or a smaller yard. But many find that with less space to maintain and pay for, life actually feels simpler and more manageable. Why this works? When housing costs are kept low or eliminated entirely, retirees free up a significant portion of their budget. That breathing room means less stress, more choices, and a retirement that feels secure instead of strained. Number 2. They have a plan and stick to it. On $1,000 a month, winging it isn't a strategy. It's a fast track to running out of money before you run out of month. The retirees making this lifestyle work know that budgeting isn't optional. It's the backbone of everything they do. Some use the classic envelope system, physically dividing their cash into categories: rent, groceries, utilities, transportation, and a little fun envelope for life's small pleasures. When an envelope is empty, that category is done for the month. Others prefer a trusty notebook or spreadsheet, writing down every penny spent like it's part of their morning coffee ritual. And then there are the tech-savvy retirees using budgeting apps that track expenses in real time. A digital safety net that sends little reminders when they're close to overspending. The point isn't the method, it's the discipline. They know exactly what's coming in, exactly what's going out, and they adjust the moment prices shift. If eggs suddenly cost 50 cents more a dozen, that difference has to come from somewhere else in the budget. It's not glamorous, but it's what keeps the lights on and the fridge stocked. According to a study from the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, retirees who actively track their spending are far more likely to stay within budget and avoid debt. That's because a plan doesn't just organize money, it organizes priorities. When you're clear on what matters most, you can cut the fluff without feeling deprived. Of course, sticking to a plan takes self-control. There will be tempting sales, unexpected expenses, and moments when you just want to toss the budget out the window and order takeout 3 nights in a row. But these retirees play the long game. They know that every dollar saved today is a little extra breathing room tomorrow. Why this works? A limited income can still be a reliable income when it's managed with care. By having a plan and sticking to it, retirees turn budgeting from a dreaded chore into a tool that gives them stability, peace of mind, and the freedom to make choices instead of being forced into them. Number 1. They move to places where $1,000 goes further. Sometimes the smartest financial move in retirement isn't cutting cable, skipping lattes, or clipping coupons. It's packing up and changing your zip code, or even your country code. For retirees living on $1,000 a month, location isn't just a backdrop for their golden years, it's the single biggest factor in how far their money will stretch. Take Linda from Oregon. She was paying $1,200 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment before utilities. After doing some research, she swapped the rainy Pacific Northwest for sunny Harlingen, Texas, where her rent dropped to $550 for a cozy apartment in a safe neighborhood. That one decision more than halved her housing costs and freed up hundreds of dollars each month for groceries, healthcare, and the occasional treat. Others take it even further. Literally. Bob traded life in a high-cost U.S. city for Cuenca, Ecuador. There, his $1,000 monthly budget covers rent, food, healthcare, and still leaves him with spending money for nights out and local travel. And he's not alone. According to International Living, retirees can live comfortably in several Latin American and Southeast Asian cities for $1,000 to $1,500 a month, often with access to quality healthcare, fresh markets, and vibrant communities. Of course, moving comes with trade-offs. Leaving behind friends, family, and familiarity can be tough. There's also the challenge of adjusting to a new culture, climate, or even language. But for those who've made the leap, the payoff is undeniable. Lower living costs, a higher quality of life, and less financial stress. Why this works? These retirees didn't just trim their budgets, they changed the entire cost environment. By moving to places where essentials are cheaper, they've turned $1,000 from a survival budget into a lifestyle budget, proving that sometimes the biggest savings come with a change of scenery. And there you have it, the top 10 ways retirees are living on $1,000 per month, and why it's actually working for them. If there's one thing this list proves, it's that retirement isn't just about how much you have, it's about how you use it. Whether it's redefining your goals, leaning on your community, ditching big expenses, or even packing up and moving somewhere new, these retirees have shown that a modest budget doesn't have to mean a small life. Sure, $1,000 a month isn't a magic number. It comes with trade-offs, choices, and sometimes sacrifices. But it can also come with freedom, creativity, and a surprising amount of peace when you approach it with intention. So, Which of these strategies do you think could work for you? Or better yet, which ones are you already doing? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might be the one that inspires someone else to take control of their retirement. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Restful Wealth, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next video on smart, affordable retirement living. And if you know someone who's worried about whether they can make retirement work, share this video with them. You might just give them the hope and ideas they've been looking for. Until next time, live simply, dream big, and don't forget the sunscreen.